morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Oh, still waking up myself. Still waking up. Oh no, we didn't update chat. This is one of those things that eventually I'm sure I will get automated, but not quite just yet. We'll get it all sorted. It'll be fine. Blown out. That's fine. I'm wearing black. Here's our morning stitch. As usual, we're working on our Cthulhu. How's the audio? Audio's good. Brilliant. Right. I think I remember where we were. I have not touched it all weekend. So, let us see if I recall. Oh yes, I just dotted out all of that wood. And we were picking out a woody colour. Woody colour. That reminds me, there it is. Is that our woody colour or is that the colour we've been using? I think that's the colour we've been using. Right. In which case, we need to pick a new colour. Let's look at the pattern. How's everyone's weekend been? How were you productive this weekend? Did you take this weekend to rest up? Did you do something fun? Me personally, I rested up. And I did something I haven't done in a very, very long time, which is I played an MMO. I really enjoy MMOs. I got badly addicted at one point, but usually I have a semi-healthy relationship with them. I say semi-healthy because it's always tough with video games and MMOs and such, because you've got to acknowledge that, you know, they're not actually important. Sometimes they feel important, which is a bit strange, but that's the thing about MMOs, is there's a sense of community, there's a sense of people kind of stuff, and you can get kind of tied up with raids and social obligations, shall we say, social obligations that aren't, so this is one of the darker ones, I think we can safely say. It's just morning pics. Pics is coming in. You give me cuddles this morning. I think that's a good one. There we go. We'll use this brown. We will use this brown. But yeah, so a big one for me is reminding myself that it is a video game, that it's fun, that there's no obligation. But I just needed to tune out. I desperately needed to tune out and just have some fun time. So I dived into New World this weekend, and I have to say I'm really enjoying it. I will say up front, it's not WildStar, my favorite MMO of all time, which still makes me sad that it's gone. Ironically, WildStar is probably not the MMO that I put the most playtime into. That's probably WoW, but WildStar is the one that will always have my heart. WoW's the one I actually got addicted to at one point. But there was, I literally changed country and, you know, changed my social circle and everything, had no money, and I was like, okay, well, there's this MMO here. And I started playing that. And as I said, I just moved to the country, and there were some people in my office who were playing it, worked in a shitty call center, and I got addicted for a while. It was a thing. Managed to nip out of it. I relapsed a few times with WoW. But yeah, I haven't done an MMO in ages. I really like MMOs. I'm, as a person who makes video games, constantly... Why are you not being nice to me, Thread? There we go. Constantly frustrated by MMOs because they could be so much better. but you know, there's a lot of pressure on them. There's a lot of complexities, and there's also a lot of conventions sometimes that trap MMO design. Like, there's cool things you could do to an MMO that are very hard to do because MMO players expect things in a certain way. And there's also some stuff to do with how the revenue model applies out and how that falls out into game design, which people don't think enough about. Like, I think a lot of people, when they do like armchair game design, don't acknowledge the constraints that the designers are working under. But I like a lot of the choices that New World's made. I understand it had a... Yeah, this floss is fighting me this morning. Normally it just rolls off my hand, no problem. Rolls off my wrist. I think this floss has managed to get twisted up somehow. That's why we put it on a bobbin. Or, you know what's much more likely? I grabbed the wrong end. I probably did grab the wrong end when I started winding this. So yeah, a lot of times people don't know even some of the pressures that designers work under and developers work under when making these things. But yeah, like, one of the things I still haven't seen in any other MMO other than WildStar is the zone telegraphing system, which is very cartoony and fit their aesthetic, which was one of the reasons they were able to pull it away. But the wonderful zone telegraphing system really made abilities feel unique, interesting, different. It meant that you could, as a new player without a tutorial, walk into a fight and everything was so clearly telegraphed that it really was about skill and it wasn't about familiarity with certain animations and things like that, which I really enjoyed. And the housing system was just so great, and the writing and the style, and you know, WildStar was very smart in a lot of its choices. But something that I think really started with WoW, in terms of they promised it, were never able to deliver it, and then WildStar took it one further with their paths and some other things, where they were like, oh, we're going to put, you know, factional wars and combat and stuff in. WildStar did a bit more of that. And then there's been some Korean MMOs and some other games that have pushed this factional war stuff a bit better and a bit more. But then there's always some really tough netcode as well to make these large battles and everything work. And then there's always the question of persistence and da-da-da. It's interesting. It's challenging. And I haven't deep dived on the faction system and the company system and owning towns and everything in New World yet, because I'm not part of a company yet. And I'm largely avoiding like YouTube streams and YouTube and stuff, because it's the whole miasma, and people can really strongly affect how you enjoy the game on that kind of stuff. It's actually become something that video game developers and designers speak about, is like how to shape that, how to react and shape that initial perception, because so much of it is like the environment in which people are consuming the content. Like, content hardly ever exists in a void, and with an MMO it's impossible to exist in a void because they're inherently social. And so if you don't appease the MMO influences, for want of a better word, then you get tarred and tainted and stuff, and there's a whole bunch of stuff there. So there is work to be done there, and there's like this whole like media consultant stuff and whatnot. They do all kinds of jazz. It's a thing. But yeah, so far, New World, really, really liking it. I probably should have made that thread longer, but sod it, we'll go with that. So far, what I am played on it, I really, really enjoyed it. And I took the weekend to relax I say that. I still, so one of the things is I didn't have my skate lesson this weekend, which I usually have every weekend, and it's because my skate instructor and pretty much all the skate instructors from his company are in Barcelona for a trip thing. I didn't go. I don't really like sort of packaged holiday things. It was like a packaged holiday skate training thing. Not really my vibe. Went to Barcelona. So I skipped out on that, but that means I didn't have a skate lesson this weekend. So I chose to take this weekend to veg and play a lot of video games. I still did not manage to perfectly veg because I banged out like 6,000 words for this week that I still need to edit because the words were banged out super roughly. So there's a lot of smoothing that needs to go on there and will go on there. But yeah, needless to say, progress has been made towards this week's word count. Well, I mean, that is basically this week's word count, but it now needs to be edited. It now needs to be made to actually work and not just be mad ramblings. But I'm starting to find a style and a method that I like. I really would love to have more readers who I don't know personally feeding back on the work, but you know, it's a little hobby project. Honestly, if I just get a handful of people, that'll make me feel good. But the main thing is I just want to know if I'm getting the tone right and if I'm heading it in the right direction. Thankfully, one of my friends is I would say he's target demo adjacent. He's pretty close to the initial person in my head that I thought about when I was writing it for. Like, I thought, like, who would enjoy this? And there were some friends who came to mind, and he was one of the friends. And so that's like one of the rulers I use to measure that work. But yeah, especially because it's unfamiliar for me, really. I figured I'm just nervous, frankly. I'm just nervous about getting it right and getting the pacing and everything on point. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. If it goes well, then awesome. The important thing is it's moving forward. And, you know, that's always the ethos here. 1 hour a day. All you need to do. Even on the days you want to rest, just put in that 1 hour. It's nice. Because if you put in 1 hour rest, there's still 23 hours. 1 hour of work, there's still 23 other hours. You know, we're not saying hustle like crazy. We're not saying lose sleep or anything. We're just saying get a little bit of progress in. Because if every day you get a little bit of progress in, no matter how small, the project is always moving forward. And you know, if you've got multiple projects on the go, you don't have to put in an hour on every project. Just put an hour in a project. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. It's a simple idea, but it's so powerful. Morning, Dougal. Morning. But yeah, so that's been my weekend. I've been enjoying the rest. Yeah, I had to fight it so hard. Like, one of my immediate temptations was, I should stream this. I'm like, no, you shouldn't. You decided you weren't going to stream video games anymore because it becomes a huge time sink and it distracts you from how you do things and a whole bunch of reasons why I don't stream video games anymore. I mean, I'm not totally averse to the concept, but it's just, as a default reaction, it's not a great default reaction. What I did do, which I really enjoyed, so I just called up some of my friends while I was gaming, and I just had a natter with some of my friends, and that sort of sated my stream brain a little bit, because I'm like, I'm still talking and gaming, so still good. But I need yeah, it's very, very hard for me just to focus in on a video game. I need something. One of the reasons I started, well, that's not true. I was going to say one of the reasons I started streaming was one of the reasons I started a certain period of streaming in my life. Yeah. Because, actual reason I started streaming was Justin TV and StarCraft laddering, and trying to hold myself to account to make sure I laddered every day and stuff. And then and then there was, back when Google Plus launched, I did a whole bunch of daily posts for Spelunky. And again, that was like just leaderboard stuff. But there was a period where I hadn't streamed for a bit, and when I got back into streaming, the reason I got back into streaming was I was working in video games, and I wasn't playing any new video games. I was playing my comfort games. And as a developer, I needed to play the new games. And so I was like, how do I motivate myself to play these games? And came up with streaming. Because especially like these AAA third-person shooter or third-person adventure games, they're so like on rails. Like my game design mind just spots all of the levers and such, and I lose interest very quickly, because I'm like, I know trope 322, and I know where this is going, and it just doesn't entertain me as much. But then when I was streaming and I was able to sort of explain it all and just revel in it a bit more, then yeah, really enjoyed it. So yeah, that was one time. But yeah, I at the moment don't have healthy patterns with streaming and gaming, so I don't game on stream anymore. But being productive on stream, now that I get, that works for me. Because no matter what happens on the stream, at the end of the stream, I have some productivity. That's pretty much true. I am a sandbox person, not a monkey bars person. That is pretty much true. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a good narrative. I love reading a good book, whatever. It's just, there is, it frustrates me when a narrative is presented as interactive, but it's not interactive. It's and it's the same thing with theatre. It's the same thing. It boils down to the same thing with like this skate trip that I didn't go on to. It's all the like, and now everybody clap, and I can't do that. It's the whole participatory entertainment. It's what it feels like. It's like, when you go to a play and they have moderate order interaction. Now, if you're talking about fully interactive theatre, if you're talking about something where, the actors are moving through the crowd and you are part of the play, and the play can totally be derailed because the audience and things, hell yeah, totally on board for that. But if you're talking about like one of those plays where they basically have a script, but the actors occasionally call out cues to the audience, and the audience reacts in a very predictable fashion. Yeah, not up for those. Not up for those. I always found those so cringe. They were a thing. They were a thing. Because, you know, like doing drama and then like being interested in theatre, you end up going to some of those shows and oh, vivid. Quite high. Quite fun if you go to one of those shows high or really drunk. Kind of similar to how if you play some AAA video games really high or drunk. But yeah. I mean, there are times when it's entertaining. Like the Rocky Horror Picture Show is one of those experiences. But I would never enjoy going to the Rocky Horror Show by myself. I enjoy how camp and over the top it is because I go with friends, and we're not making a mockery of it because that's kind of the point of it, but it's, yeah. Oh dear, yeah. Lincoln Madinkin. Yeah. It is kind of funny how much of a reference point Lincoln in aeroplanes are. It's like, what dead president defined your hobby? Well, I like to fly aeroplanes. Oh dear. Dear. I like to have a picnic on a grassy knoll. Probably a bit too dark, but hey. Here we go. Like, I know we're so far away from this in terms of VR tech and such, but I would love to have a headset on at the moment with like pass-through AR that was comfortable enough to wear, that had eye tracking in it, that I could like stream, and then while I'm streaming and doing this, based on where I'm looking in, I could just zoom in and stuff, because I'm like, it's really hard to show off the stitch work as I go, but I know exactly where the point of interest is, and I'm like, oh man, I kind of want to, because like I can zoom in the camera more, but then you lose the overview, and it's very easy for me to wander outside of the way the camera's focusing, and then it becomes an activity of obsessing over where the camera's pointing. But yeah, I think the thing that makes it really pretty as well is just the focus on the minute, which is tough to do. There we go, pull through there, and see, we had a plan all along, Sammy Sam. There we go. There's an official cut. There we go. Where's the next section we're gonna do? Could do. Let's do that. Let's finish up the poll. Actually, I think I might start here and work that away. That makes sense. That makes sense, Jay. There we go. But yeah, I didn't spend any couch time this weekend, which was what I needed. Because I needed to relax, but I needed to not spend it on the couch. And so playing video games all weekend worked out well for me. because I'm trying to reclaim my study as a place where I can have fun, because I've just been working, which is fair. It's my office, I work from home, but it's a complicated relationship, complicated. It is for everyone, though I'm quite privileged to have a nice little office space, so if I do need to get my head out of work, it's very easy just to leave the room. But occasionally I want to use this room for other things, because it's, London, it's a big room. But I have ways, Mr. Bond, transforming the space. Little things I do to set up for work and such that change my mindset. There we go. Ba-dum-ba-dum-bum. I love that sound, that plucky pluck sound. Okay. I have been mildly obsessed with a sound and trend on TikTok lately. It's from the Bo Burnham special, and it's a little clip of sound where it's like, we thought we were going to heaven, but I motherfucking lied. And the trope is the artist, because it's an animation trope, the artist draws them as their young self, usually innocent, and usually, either the artist themselves has changed a lot, or what they've drawn has changed a lot, to the point where I think one of my favorites was a girl who used to draw these really cute things, and now they are a bisexual mess, and they draw a lot of furry porn, and it's just like, you have chosen the dark path, child, but profitable. I mean, that's a question. Is the furry porn the dark path, or is working for a big corporate animation studio the dark path? I don't know anymore. But yeah, it's a funny trend. I've been having a good chuckle at that trend. Just because, I think because it's an animated trend, it's so easy to play into the animated villain tropes. So that's not a problem on the app. That's a problem when people make compilations. I mean, I'm not going to say the audio levels don't change on TikTok, but it's the TikTok algorithm is pretty smart about it. I do find it funny that there are so many people who their experience of TikTok, and this is not just you, this is a broad swathe of people, their experience of TikTok is basically the experience of it's non-participatory, it's from the sidelines, which feels so strange to me, especially because of how uber personalized the TikTok algorithm is. It's a very it's a hyper specific algorithm, and it's always fun. Something that me and my friends will sometimes do is it's usually embarrassing, but it's funny as fuck. We will scroll each other's For You page for a few scrolls, or we'll scroll and show someone else our For You page, and it always amazes me how different everyone's is. I think it's also because it's such tiny pieces of content. it's so easy for people to make TikToks that there's just a much broader diversity of content versus, say, YouTube or Twitch or anywhere else. I think a lot of it is down to there's a lot of people who would never. It's kind of like what Instagram did to photography. I feel like TikTok does to short form video. I think Vine could have done it if Vine had stayed around longer. And I think one of the reasons TikTok succeeds so well is because of Vine's memory. But Vine had a very different energy back in the day. Very, very different energy. And it's interesting to see how these platforms evolve and how comedy evolves from them and creators and their relationship with content and such. Because it's complicated. This stuff's never easy. But it's it's going places. It's going places. But yeah, no, I feel like TikTok's here to stay now. It's so firmly embedded. There was a genuine point where they almost got banned in the US. That would have been, like, I'm glad it didn't happen, but I'm also kind of sad it didn't happen, because I think that would have been really interesting from a cultural and geopolitical point of view, because it would have been the first time that maybe people used a VPN in America to access Chinese product, which is 10 levels of fascinating and just interesting, you know. And I was like, just imagining the French memes, like, we have the TikTok. You know, have the TikTok or no? Oh dear, I don't know why, but that amuses me endlessly. But yeah, it would have been a real cultural moment to. I mean, hell, even just the close call of it was a cultural moment, and in the end, actually boosted TikTok way more, which is hilarious because, you know, it's a whole like, we're concerned about TikTok. Well, how are we going to signal boost it? Let's talk about banning it. Have you learned nothing? Immediate success to popularity. I'm controversial, kids. The government wants to take me away. Oh. Okay, hold on. This is not. There we go. Come on, I need to pull this thread there. I want to pick it all up. There we go. There we go. It feels good. Motherfucking lied. Yeah, there we go. Getting better at thread length estimation. It's still a tricky thing, but I feel good when I get it right. Just double checking myself constantly. Like, you will not run out of floss before you run back. Even if I do, it's not a tragedy. Just make my back stitch look a little bit less clean, because I've still got to secure the stitch. There we go. What the hell is green doing in this area? Oh, there's a bit of loose floss that I didn't trim that tightly and got pulled into this area. Okay. That's interesting. There we go. This was back when I first started this piece and I was learning how to... There we go. Good, I didn't push any green through. Learning how to manage my back stitch more efficiently. Oh dear, I think I may have misjudged. We can do it, Captain. We can pull out of this area. I think it's because it's got so much to push through. I'm just using up more thread on the back. Probably it. Pull it tight, Captain. You can do it. There we go. I judged correctly. Oh, brilliant. I was really, really worried that I misjudged there for a second. I had a momentary doubt. Come on. Come on. Wait, did I not have another piece? Oh, there we go. It's over there. Good, good, good. I know how long my streams are. I know how fast I do things. Right. Motherfucking lied. Oh man, I can't get that sound out of my head. It's so good. Oh man. Sometimes I just want to put the Bowman Inside Special on repeat and just leave it running in the background. Speaking to my friends, I know not everyone loves that special, but the ones to which that special are relevant with, it has hit like a ton of bricks. It's just really, really landed. And it's interesting to see. Very interesting to see how that has played out. You know? Because a thing does not have to appeal to everyone, but if a thing hits its target that hard, you know you made art. You know you made something special. I mean, don't get me wrong, making a thing that has broad appeal is a wonderful and talent. Oh, it is not only a great ability, it is recognized as a great ability. I never diminish people who make popcorn entertainment, because making popcorn entertainment that genuinely sells is very, very tricky. Very, very tricky. However, having said that, there is, I think, much less appreciated that absolute Marmite moment of art where you made a thing and 8 out of 10 people, maybe even 9 out of 10 people, maybe they don't hate it, maybe it just doesn't sit with them or whatever, but it's there. But then you get that like 1 out of 10 person, or that 1 out of 10,000 people who it is their thing, it is now like their favorite thing, and that is power. That is like, you know. I mean, when I say that is power, it actually sounds really dark the way I say it like that, because it's like, you have successfully created a cult. Yeah. It's like, now that God is officially dead, would you like to become a cult leader? Oh dear. Yeah, that was fascinating. The God, was that an article? Was that a documentary? I'm trying to remember. I can't recall, but I was watching a piece on religion in America and tracking the death of the traditional church environment and the rise of cult behavior. Because America's always had an interesting relationship with religion. I mean, it was founded inherently as a non-religious state, like very strictly, because a lot of people escaping religious persecution. So it was very firm in its founding, like one of the core pillars of its founding. And that pillar was actually removed. It's no longer the truth. Because of McCarthyism and the communism fight. And what makes us different from communists? Well, we believe in God. And but then you get the whole push of the frontier and how that played into evangelicalism and isolated community culture and all kinds of really fascinating sociological conditions that lead to this country that's absolutely religion mad, but has no religion, but has a religion. This is fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. Because I think most of Europe has had these religious problems. Well, yeah, that whole "In God We Trust" was a McCarthyism thing. It wasn't really present at the founding of America. There was a lot of revisionist history that went on. There was a lot of revisionism that went on, a scary amount. I don't think most Americans realize how much of their history is revised history. But anyway, I think Europe went through all of that, but Europe went through it at a different time, a different era. And now, if you're from any country in Europe, your country's had a history, usually with the church. And, it's not to say that there aren't religious issues in your country, but they're old and well-tried religious issues. They don't lead to, how do I say this? They're cultural issues that no longer lead to personal crises. Whereas, in America, you've got a thing of, what was it, 3/4 of everyone believes that angels manifest. And, it tracks similarly to, belief in aliens and belief in a lot of conspiracy stuff and whatnot, because yeah, it is tough. It is tough. It's one of the reasons why American Gods is one of my favorite books of all time, because I think Gaiman, as an outsider, but as someone who also lived for so long in America, and someone who thinks so much about mythology, and because mythology and theology and fairy tales and philosophy, it's all the same ballpark. It's just some people are ashamed to admit that they're sitting next to a priest, or that they're sitting next to a fantast. I forget. There's a word for someone who studies fairy tales and pixies and stuff. I forget what the word is. I thought it was fantasist. Anyway. Theologian, priest, philosopher, bar drunk. I mean, bar drunk doesn't really fit in there. I did always get annoyed because sometimes people, when I tell them I started to study philosophy, they were like, oh, and they would mentally picture the drunk uncle or some dude at a bar talking about some bullshit, and it's like, well, actually, it's a lot of mathematics. If you It's a lot of mathematics and it's a lot of really hardcore thought experiment stuff. But, you know, it's not what they put on the brochure, shall we say. The brochure of philosophy is one of the Greeks wrapped in robes discussing, having discourse. It's like, yeah, no, that's not how it works. I mean, if you're picturing a bunch of drunk people angry brawling, maybe that's closer to how it works, but yeah, no, it's yeah, I mean, it's an academic subject. It's all academic. It amuses me to no end that it's purely academic is in common parlance used to dismiss a concern as unimportant. I mean, I think that says everything about culture and society in regards to academia. Because academia is extremely important. But yeah, people's relationship with learning and studying is so, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult because, you know, for most people, their learning environment was not designed for them and it wasn't there to benefit them. Now, if you were fortunate enough to go to a rich kid's school or to be exposed to certain branches of teaching, then maybe you actually had a good time. Maybe you were actually being taught skills that were for your benefit and not society's benefit. I mean, to be fair, there's always a mix, but the balance of how much you are learning for your benefit and how much you are learning for society benefit is largely determined by socioeconomic factors, which sucks, but is the case. Some people are lucky enough that they enjoy academia enough, or they have a certain teacher, or some other random factor comes into play and they're able to somehow cheat a legitimate education out of the system. But it is not how the system is designed, unfortunately, and it's very sad. It's very sad. But it's also not a state that's easily fixed, because you do, for society to work, need education to somewhat prioritize societal needs over the individual. But that's a very, very dirty concept for people to explore. Because if you genuinely want education to be more free, then you need to make society more free. And that is a scary, scary concept. Because if mommy and daddy are worker drones and you're trying to educate their kid as this wonderful free spirit, blah blah blah, it's not going to go down well with mommy and daddy, unfortunately. It's a thing. It is a thing. People try to isolate a part of the system, and they're like, we can fix this part of the system. And it's like, oh, we kind of need to fix the system. Kind of tough fixing the one without the other. And people are like, yeah, that's too scary, there's too much to fix. And I'm like, no. Don't let the size of the problem fool you. That's only because you're trying to take the entire system from where it currently is to perfection in one foul sweep. What you can do instead is you can look where the levers are that you can make small changes. And this applies to so many things. This doesn't just apply to this. This applies to large-scale projects as well. Very much within our 1 hour ethos. But you look at the entire system and you're like, where can I make small changes? Where can I make visible or tangible progress. It doesn't have to be tangible to someone else. It has to be tangible to you. So I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of successful indie game devs I know, when they're stuck on code, they do a bit of art. When they're stuck on art, they do a bit of code, or they do a bit of music, or whatever their particular subset of talents is. Or even if you're coding and you're like, I'm stuck on this problem, and you're like, well, can I maybe switch task to another thread? It doesn't always work, because sometimes you're just really deep in on a particular problem set. You do get those kind of problems where it's like, sorry, my brain is just checking something. Yeah, you do get those kind of problems where the best thing is actually to just rewind and stay on the problem and work the problem. Because yeah, sometimes you just have to harry it like a terrier. But yeah, I did not actually. I did not. It's a common study or belief, especially the use of hallucinogenics and prophecy and such. It's a common theorem and study, but I didn't see that particular article in Nature. I have to admit, I usually wait for someone in another publication I trust to point to an article in Nature before I give it much attention. Nature's become a bit of a pissing ground for academia. And it's not like they haven't ever failed on their peer review. Yeah. They're definitely friendly reminder, because too many people forget this. If you're ever interested in a piece of research or a study or anything, and it's behind a paywall, find out the scientists behind it, look them up on Twitter or look them up on their university website, and tweet or email them and go, hey, I'm interested in this thing, can you send me a copy? And they usually will be able to, 99% of the time. And they'll be happy to hear that someone's interested in their work. So yeah, screw paywalls, screw paid articles, screwed Waldorf science, especially when most of it is paid with public funds. There we go. Progress. A little bit of progress, but still progress. So, to remind everyone what we did today, we wound a bobbin. That's the colour we're working with at the moment. Come on, zoom. There we go. That's the colour we're working with at the moment. And I'm going to pop this. I'll just pop it on top of there so I don't forget. She says, and I know I will forget, I'm actually not loving this box for storage of bobbins. I think there will be a better solution. I need to look. But it's something of the brain. And then in regards to progress, we did all of this bit here, did this bit here, and we did some bits here. And backstitch for you. So you see that? I'm quite proud of how neat that line is there, and how neat that is there. Though this bit here, this was a bit where I was struggling earlier, because I don't know if you can see it, but some of the green crept in. Yeah, it's tough to see. Yeah. There we go. Well, I hope everyone's having a lovely, lovely weekend. I hope you're all rested up and ready to tackle a week. And yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. Sorry I missed Friday. It was a day, and there was a reason I needed to take the weekend off. So yeah, be here tomorrow, and we'll probably be continuing on this. I don't think I will be editing on stream this week. I think I'll be doing my editing in the evenings for the novel. But yeah, that update will come Thursday. Take care, everyone. Tilting.
Rock it like you still.